All right. So today we are going to talk about staying consistent with your brand online. So consistency isn't about just sameness, it's about recognition actually. So when your brand looks and sounds and feels aligned across every single platform, it builds trust, makes your business feel instantly memorable. So that's what we want to try to create. But if you are new here and you have not met me yet, my name is Karen Haggard, and I want to make sure you actually see my next slide, because last time I had a little bit issue. Would you mind giving me a thumbs up that you're seeing the current slide? One more thumbs for you. Thank you for participating. Awesome. Thank you so much. So yes, before we dive in, my name is Karen Haggard. If you have not met me before, I am a Swedish designer, and I founded K Haggard Design, brand designer. And I found K Haggard Design about a decade ago, or well, full time about a decade ago. And we have worked with hundreds of clients to help them craft impactful websites. I am a doer and I'm an athlete and I am a creator. I really believe in uniqueness. Like, if you leave into your uniqueness, I think that's where the magic really happens. And I also believe kindness is cool. So let's jump in. So two brands can sell the same service, of course, but and actually, I should say, not buts, and promise similar results, target the same audience, yet only one can earn the trust. And the difference isn't luck, it's credibility. And credibility isn't something that is built over time, slowly. It's actually formed in just a few seconds. So it's all about how brands communicate strategically, visually, and emotionally. When somebody encounters a brand, they don't read every single line of copy. They don't check every single uh, testimonial or portfolio piece. They get an overarching idea of what the company or the brand is, and then you feel it. And most likely, in people's mind, there are going to be questions like, does this brand look and feel dependable? Does it sound clear and confident? Would I feel secure working with this company? And these questions are not answered logically, they're answered by alignment. So, between what you say, your message, what you mean, your strategy, and what you show, your visuals, when one is off, credibility cracks. But when all three are in place, it creates a harmony, it creates the alignment, and trust becomes effortlessly. Trust and credibility becomes effortlessly. So, clear brands are memorable, easy to understand, and get attention. And to do that, we need to figure out who we are, what's unique about us. As I was mentioning at the top of the presentation here, what makes you unique is really something that will set you apart. Because you can have the same service, offer the same results, or promise the same results, and um, be working in the same industry as somebody else. But that little uniqueness, that little extra that you have, that is usually where the goodness happens. And this is often also where you can really connect with your ideal client. Then it's also about what you stand for, and then the ideal client. Who do you serve? Honestly, the two most important things to think about is, what do you do differently, and who is your ideal client? So these are the things that you need to make sure you have in place um, before you do anything else. Um, so what keeps what do you keep consistent? Well, visual identity, brand voice, brand experience, and this is everything from colors, fonts, tone of voice, and the experience. So wherever you go, whether it is in your email signature, your social media platforms, your website, your business cards, your marketing pieces, or your collateral pieces, all of it needs to stay consistent so we can get an idea of who you are, making sure that the credibility doesn't crack, but we actually create it. So, logo, colors, fonts, and imagery and voice. This is how do you actually speak? Like there are some known brands that use a lot of F bombs, for instance. I don't know about if you know Gary Vee, but that's somebody that comes to mind. And then you have somebody that maybe is more professional, maybe somebody that is a little bit more laid back and easygoing. But finding that tone of voice that really aligns with you and making sure that is consistently throughout all those platforms too, just like all the colors and the fonts is really important. I did just get a contact the other day. I look at she emailed me. I look at her email signature and I get this really nice professional photo. Hair and makeup is done. We set up a Zoom meeting. I get on the Zoom meeting, and on the meeting, I meet somebody totally different. She is not, even though you work at home, it's important to have the same. It doesn't maybe need be exactly the same, but she was not done up. It was just a very different person from the photo. Not saying that the person that is on the Zoom call is wrong, but maybe that photo is not right. We really need to align with our values, what matters, and how we want to show up, and making sure that the photo shoot makes sense for us, that it shows what you stand for. Like another an example is I have a financial advisor, this is many years ago, who is very outdoorsy. And in his world, it's often about wearing a suit and a tie and a button down shirt. It's like, I really don't want to do that on my photo shoot. I was like, I release you from all of, are giving you permission to not do that. And sometimes that's all we want. Like this is something that he brings up often because the photo shoot was really him and his REI gear kind of thing, outdoorsy. And that is how he does his work. So I always recommend to do photos and styling that aligns with who you are and how you actually want to show up when you meet with clients. So it doesn't misalign like it did for me when I'm looking at the email signature and I see one little more polished person and then I see somebody that's, it was quite different in the actual meeting. So that just confuses a little bit. And it's one of those little cracks that happens. So we want to make sure that it is all connected. Um, that's basically what I was talking. I didn't click on the slide there, but yeah, making sure every single touch point from email, phone, your messages on your site all should be seamless where I feel like I'm talking to the same person, whether it's team member or social media platforms, your captions, your posts, everything. So it's really about finding that out before, which is why we started on this, and then you go on and create all the different areas. So if you could add another layer, here is something to look into. This doesn't always work. It depends on what industry you are in. But if you have the ability to catch all the different senses, so your sight, you hear, your smell, you taste, and your touch. If you're able to catch all those five, you get a lot more ability to be memorable. This is how our brains work. If we can, like we smell something, honestly, I wonder if smell is one of the biggest one. And I think of that like when you, I don't know, when you fly home or you come home to your family house or where you grew up, there's this certain smell like, I feel like I'm home. Or maybe I was talking to somebody the other day that had this experience where they walked into a hotel that they really loved in Los Angeles, I think it was. And she's like, oh, that smell when I walked in there, it just brings you somewhere in your mind. So if you have an ability to do that, and here's another example. I was just in the mall the other day. I'm walking by Abercrombie and Fitch, and it has a specific smell, and you can just smell it without even being close to it. So it's different ways of connecting with your ideal client and making it memorable. And then to be able to stay consistency. So I have all these different things. I have the colors, I have the fonts, I have all of this stuff, the photo styles, like what kind of photos do we want? But how do we actually stay consistent with it? Well, you create a brand guide where you have this set up in there. This is really good to have for yourself. And it's excellent to have if you hire an assistant or if you have a team member, to make sure that you have the hex colors. So the pound 11111, for instance, is black. So the you or the team member knows which colors to use, and it's consistent throughout. Small differences make small changes there can make a big difference. Like, I'm working with a client that have had their brand for, I don't know, yeah, I think you said he hadn't updated anything for 10 years. The company has grown dramatically. So their main color, for instance, is blue. And he said, we have so many different shades of blue because most likely they don't have a grand brand guide that has specifically pointed out what's the size of the font, what's the color of the font, or colors that we're going to use, what's the type of photos they want. Are we going to focus on lifestyle photos, or is it product photos? Do we have a filter on all the photos? All of those little details just adds that little extra goodness to your brand. So if you have old assets, old posts, old pages, you want to go through a little brand consistency scorecard, is actually what I call it, where you check it, compare it, and you correct it. So it's a little test that you can go through to make sure that it's all set up properly. So to check it, you basically want to audit every touch point. So your website, your social media, whichever social media channels you use, your email signature. I was just on a call the other day too with somebody, or I got an email from somebody, and the email signature was just like, I don't know. It was probably like 10 different links in there. And all you really want to do is make sure that you have your contact information clickable so the user can easily click it and get to where they want to, whether it's picking up the phone, go over to your website, or send you an email. And then maybe you want to have one clear call to action of something that you're working on. But again, just making sure it's consistent. Website, social media, emails, and then if you do ads, you want to make sure those are aligned too. And when you look at your social media platforms, make sure to also look at all the different places where you give reviews. This is something that's coming up more and more now with AI, that you have the same contact information, same information about what you actually do. So your bio, for instance, on all the different platforms, as well as like Google Business, Yelp, and stuff like that. Because if you have the consistency, the easier it is for AI to figure out, is this a person that shows up in a lot of different places, and are they an authority in their industry? Okay. Next, you want to compare these and give yourself a score of 0 to 5. So you're checking like if everything is aligned, your visual identity. Do you have a bunch of different logos? You started a logo a long time ago and then you changed it a little bit. So on another social media platform, you have maybe your icon and your name. And another platform, you have a gray logo, and a fourth one or third, whatever number I'm on, you have a red one, because you're having, you know, changing it along the way, making sure it's all consistent. And if it's not, it's, 0. And if it's 4 and sorry, 5, that's where I'm at. 0 to 5. I can't even remember my own numbers. Then obviously you're good. But you want to try to stay 4 and up. And if it's below there, time to fix it. Get aligned because it does really matter. These are the things that I feel maybe it's a little bit more subconsciously, just depending on what kind of industry you're in. And then you want to then obviously go in and correct it. So replace any kind of outdated visuals. And this can sometimes feel overwhelming. So I would go just make a list of the different platforms and places you want to update. And you just go step by step, maybe take one a week or whatever it might be, and go through that surely, slowly and surely. Um, all right. So then we have the whole scorecard there with, let's see, what is it? Check, compare, and correct. And with that, I want to just do a little recap. So, why consistency matters? It builds credibility and trust. It makes you more memorable. And it might feel like a little thing, but if it's a lot of little things, all of a sudden, it just doesn't feel professional. It doesn't feel good, doesn't feel aligned. And this is what I was mentioning just a second ago. It could be that it is subconsciously, but it does happen. When you feel a brand is consistent, you know how they're going to show up. Like it doesn't matter where you meet with Apple, for instance. If you're listening to their keynote presentation, if you go into their store, if you're opening their packaging, it's going to give you all the same feel. It's just so incredibly well done. So making sure it's consistent and that you stand out with it. Like take it as an advantage when you're offering the same service as somebody else, then this is a way to actually stand out and be remembered and building that credibility that we were talking about. So visually, you want to look at it, your brand voice, that is how you communicate, and then the full experience. So wherever you meet with them, wherever you show up, as I said, Apple, it doesn't matter where you are, you're going to get the same kind of a feeling. And then I think I missed a slide somewhere, but tools to stay consistent. I don't think I saw that. It should be in there actually. But tools to stay consistent could be Canva. If you're doing your own design work, and if you're working with somebody, then you would have a designer to help you. Templates are excellent to set up. So social post, you have a certain template that you just reuse. And maybe you change the title or you change the photo, but the photo is maybe all your photos around or something like that. And then every single time you post something, you use the same template and just swap out text and photo, and then it stays consistent. Uh, email, you can have templates in your emails. You can have templates. Any kind of collateral pieces. A letterhead is excellent for doing a PowerPoint, a lead magnet, or sending out an actual letter if you want to. Brand consistency scorecard, that's the last one. So that's going through to check, compare, and correct it. So this sometimes can feel a little bit overwhelming, but taking one, like having a list, and here actually something that we do that could be really helpful is that we set up monthly check-ins. For instance, our Google Business, we check in every month to make sure that we have added new photos, that we making sure that we responded to any kind of reviews that we received. And so we have a few of these things that we go in and check. So making a to-do list, whether it is in your phone or if you use a tool like we use Asana, so we have a bunch of tasks in Asana, but any kind of project management tool, and then you can go in and make sure you're consistently updating it. That is really, really helpful because there's so many different places you want to make sure you stay consistent and up to date. So that is it for today. And let me know if you have any kind of question about that, anything about online presence or anything else for that matter. I'm going to have a little sip of water and see if you got a question for me. Anything you wondering over or wondering about might be the right question. Let's see. Those questions? If not, no questions? Yep. Here we go. Yes, you're the only one. So you can ask me any kind of question. Yes, consistency. It's so important. It's one of those things. So maybe it's like subconscious. I bet when you walk into Starbucks, I don't know if you drink Starbucks, but that's just a commonplace. You are going to have the same feeling. Doesn't matter where you go, and you just know what to expect. And we are creatures of habit. So when we have that consistency, it really helps with our mind to be to remember, and then it makes sure that we have that harmony that I was talking about, where you have your message, your strategy, and your visuals. When they're all aligned and they're yeah, when they're aligned, it creates credibility. And I'm sure if you start thinking about different brands, then you're gonna see that. So yeah. Anything else you want to chat about? What business are you in? Financial planner. Ah, fabulous, fabulous. Yeah. And then for you, um, you obviously have, as I don't know how long you've been in business, but then you also have the compliance, as I was mentioning, testimonials. It's not necessarily about consistency, but that just came to my mind because I mentioned testimonials. But lovely. Okay. Yeah. Uh, yeah. And yeah, having the same tone of voice, and you don't have to write it all on your own, even if you have somebody that helps you write. It's about communicating what matters to you. Like, for instance, I have somebody helping me write copy. I don't want to use the word hard. Things are hard. I like to say things are can be challenging. Little things make a big difference, and I'm making sure that we don't use the word hard. We use challenging. It could be. I like to be more laid back. I want to communicate in my wording and everywhere. Honestly, it's more laid back, friendly. That's my tone of voice. So whoever on my team is writing something, I want to make sure that it is friendly. We use some made up words here and there to make sure it flows how I would actually speak, and it doesn't matter if I'm writing it or if somebody else on my team is writing it. It's going to be the same. But yeah, that's excellent. Okay. Anything else before we hop off? Thank you so much for joining me. If you have any more questions, you can always reach out. K Hager Design on all the social, and then um, khagerdesign.com for our site, obviously. I'm happy to help.